Did you ever have aspirations to go to school?
You mean college?
Yeah.
Not before, not before the military. No, I didn't think I could afford it really.
So why'd you join? Was there a certain event that drew you to the Marines or just did it?
Well, yeah, this fucker, man. There was this dude in high school. He sat in front of me, and I think it was called law class. It was general law. I wanted to be a lawyer, kind of. And homie wanted to join the Marine Corps, and he was looking for recruits so he can get like Lance Cooley.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
he's
right.
like, so he turned around. He was right in front of me, dude. He's like, hey, he's like, you want to get out of class? I was like, I gotta go see this guy there. He's like, at least you'll get out of class for an hour. I'm like, okay, cool. So we went, and Staff Sergeant Batista, this Dominican dude, looking sharp as hell in the blues, in the Charlies, which was the nice blood stripe, the blue, and then the short sleeve, the white hat.
Tan.
For sure, he's a Dominican dude, so he's looking sharp as hell in the uniform.
Oh, I missed the tan shirt. He went to a weird.
Oh, shit, man.
No, this interview's over. He said, No, dude said, What's your wife's name, Frank? Yeah, he looked good. He was Dominican.
Fuck. That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant.
I was talking
Damn,
about the
man.
color of the top. You're like, yeah, he was tan, Dominican. He said,
Dude, I said,
we can rewind it.
forget it.
I think you'll see the shock and awe in my face.
Oh,
He said,
no.
So this tan Dominican drew.
Yeah, so the tan Dominican wearing the sharp class Charlie. That was funny, dude.
That have a tan top.
I'd never seen somebody so sharp, dude.
That's why he was there, I'm sure.
Yeah, he was recruiting.
Yeah.
He
So
was,
he looked good. Yeah.
I mean, he looked like the dudes that I've seen in the movies and shit. I never
Right.
seen one up close. And I know that sounds
I
stupid
never
and
seen
cliche.
one up close.
So back in 1992, Hurricane Andrew was the first time that I met a Marine.
Okay.
They were handing out food.
Water.
Yeah,
stuff.
so. But they were wearing their camis, their old school camis.
Oh, right.
But it said U.S. Marine on it. So, that's kind of like the first time I'd encounter one. And when I found out that was their uniform, I was like, oh, man. Like, I put both things together. And, yeah, homie he was cool, man. He didn't lie too much to me.
Not too bad.
No, he was pretty straightforward. And he's like, dude, it's gonna be tough, He's like, but you're gonna be. He gave me that. He went that route. He didn't like overpromise shit. He's just
Right.
he's like, you're gonna feel different. He's like, I can't explain it, man. He's like, you just gotta fucking do it,
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I really didn't know why I chose the Marine Corps for a long time, dude. I was playing soccer at the time, high school soccer, and I was pretty good. I had a couple scholarships. One was like, full ride. The other one was kind of half paid. They weren't the greatest, I still felt like I was going to be a financial burden to my mom. So I was like, well, if I go to college this way, right? It was very appealing. So I thought that was the reason for a long time.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward. Let me figure it out. But as I got older and then, I did a lot of the inner work after my coma and all that stuff. I kind of figured that there was a little bit more to it. That was part of it. I'm not going to say it wasn't. But I want to say that I kind of needed to prove some shit to myself.
I think a lot of that is like, I came from a broken home. You were a team sports player.
I was, yeah.
Kind of fits into our DNA of a person. Like, I like to belong to a team. I like to excel as a team. I like to figure out what's the next thing to do. That's kind of, the enamor of it all. And for poor and middle class kids, like, it's a real draw. That uniform, that stature, that Dominican.
Well, I guess If you want, let's talk about the Dominican Marine, right? Yeah, I mean, I too grew up with that. My pops, that's a pretty common story. And I guess you don't really look at your educators as father figures, maybe role models, yeah. Unless, a few, I mean, I really kind of thought I had a cool relationship with my soccer coach.
Yeah, I did with my basketball
Right.
coach as well. Yeah.
So, yeah, Simon was my coach's name, soccer. He was a cool guy, man. And, he
Mine
gave me,
was coach.
yeah, well, for sure. Coach Simon. Yeah, I was running laps. Yeah. But Coach Simon and his wife, I don't remember, his wife at the time. I'm not sure what their status is now. But she was the track and field coach. So I had to run track and field during the off season, play soccer, all kinds of other. I was never home, man, and so joining the Marine Corps, I thought it took a big burden from my mom, made me figure out kind of who I was going to be. Never figured it would lead me all the way here, man, honestly. Mm-hmm. Especially, to be honest, dude, you did 20 years, I signed once, sometimes I feel that to be similar to, comparison is a bitch, dude, no matter which you look at it.
No, for sure.
Because I'd be like, oh, well, I only did 4 years.
Yeah.
That kind of shit sometimes it used to come to mind. I was like,
yeah.
And that's not cool, man.
Like, if I know for a fact, if I had not been on the ship I was on with the leadership team that was in my division, that I wouldn't have probably stayed. All the people in my very first ship's division, we all came in the Navy within 6 months of each other, except for like 4 or 5 more senior guys, right? So all of us junior guys kind of like came up together, and it was a real team feeling and stuff. And like they promoted that, like they fostered that teamness, like we rooted for other people to make rank too. Like it was interesting, and that's what made me want to stay, And once I signed that, like I told you before, once I signed that 6-year re-enlistment, they
yeah, for sure,
they toss that coin at you, and
well, it looks good, dude.
Yeah, and now you're in 9 years, and you're kind of already making a decision that, like, I'm not going to throw away 9 years of.
I mean, you're close to your 30s then. You're like, phew. I mean, you're halfway there. You might as well do it.
Yeah.
Like I said, some of my buddies got out after.
And the hard part's over after that first 9, should be anyway.
At least it should be. I guess it has a lot to do with choices too. You know, like what kind of choices did you make while you?
Right.
Your first 2, I didn't make great choices as a
right. I mean, I went to captain's
enlisted.
mass, and they took half a month's pay for 2 months and 60 days restrictions, 60 days extra duty. I did that.
Yeah, restriction sucks, man.
Mickey's big mouths.
Yeah, malt liquor will do some stuff to you, dude.
Lord.
Yeah, I remember, like I told you earlier today, I was like, yeah, you can only take 6 beers to your room. And we're like, okay. I remember going up, we were in Camp Schwab, it doesn't belong to the U.S. any longer. They gave it back to the Okinawans, right? But the freaking PX was all the way at the bottom, dude. So there's these E1s, E2s walking all the way up the freaking mountain or hill, whatever, right? Carrying 6 big mouth Mickeys, and the 40s too, bro. The 32 ounces, not the little ones, just the big freaking Mickeys, bro. Man. It was New Year's, man. It was my first New Year's away from home.
Wow.
Really embodying that you suckers miss Christmas shit,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So yeah, dude. I guess I needed to prove to myself that I can kind of do this stuff. I know it sounds stupid, but when most of my guidance came from my sisters and my mom, yeah, it felt kind of good coming out of boot camp. I was scared not to finish boot camp.
I mean, I think everybody has a little fear whether or not they're going to make it through boot camp, because anything can happen, but at the same time you think, I don't know.
I was scared to be like, no, I couldn't hack it. you figure I'd be kind of in shape from soccer, right? And all of this.
Right. It's not the same shape.
No, man. I was falling out of runs at
Yeah,
first.
because I was playing basketball and stuff too, and like I went to college for a year and hurt myself, and like I just like didn't have it in me to rehab or whatever, and that's what drew me to the military and stuff. I needed to make a change because I didn't want to go back to my hometown out of school and work at the chicken factory or whatever the hell, you know.
I get asked a lot of times, like, would you go to the military now, today's military, let's say if you were 17, knowing what you know?
Okay, so I'd have to like kind of figure it out, but I didn't know all the benefits that I would have then when I joined, so I would have to say probably so.
Okay.
Right?
I was definitely ignorant to...
Like I didn't know that my retirement was 50% of my top 3 grossing years, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like 35% of your last 5 years or whatever. They kept lowering it, so I don't know if it's worth it to stay 20 years anymore. I don't know. I mean, I would have to look at it.
So you're saying it's how much then?
My retirement was 50% of my top 3 grossing
so that was 20
years.
years ago, right? You got out 20 years ago.
And I think when I got out, the people that were coming in then, I think it was like maybe 45 or 30, 40.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's probably lower now.
I'm sure it's lower.
Yeah, I guess we'll look it up and we'll put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Here.
But that's interesting,
Dude, honestly, I went in with the intent of doing 20, but once I was in and I was getting in trouble and all this, I was like, oh, maybe this is not for me.
I went in with the intent on using the GI Bill, getting out after 3 years.
Did you use your GI Bill?
I did after I retired.
Okay, cool.
But the plan was to be young and go to college and, on my own dime and my own way.
You don't feel like your early years were somewhat like college years?
What, in the Navy?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Running around, not a care in the world,
Not a care in the world.
You don't really give a shit about anything really between E1 and E3. There was very few dudes that I knew that were serious about that.
No.
Once they picked up corporal, they're like, hey, you motherfuckers over there, you can't be walking like this.
The seriousness came from the fact that you better have your shit squared away or your first shirt was coming after you. Right? And
man,
that was about it. Everything else was a joke. I mean, it wasn't serious.
I don't know, man. Like some of these dudes, like the second they picked up E4, like picked up corporal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
They're like we were just kicking it, and now you want to like, damn, already like you switched up just like that.
I had a friend tell me that as soon as he, we can't talk like this anymore. I'm like,
well, see, but that's respectable though.
I mean,
he's like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm not gonna call you Steve or whatever. I'm not gonna call you Jeff. If you're senior chief.
It was worse than that. He was like, well, we can't be friends no more, that kind of thing,
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he took it to an extreme, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I was friends with, the dude's name was Barlow.
Go ahead.
His name was Barlow, and he was an E4. The Marine Corps is cheap, so you're not supposed to mix in the same room like a NCO and a non-rate.
Right.
But here I was with a corporal, a sergeant, and I'm a freaking E1, and I hear them talking all the shit about the staff NCOs and this dummy over here, and all they kept telling me, you better not repeat that.
Right. So there's a training video that they make you watch about when a new person's checking on a ship, and like, hey, sir, we got a new member in our division today. He's down on the quarterdeck. They're like looking around. He's like, Johnson, go down there to pick up the new guy. And Johnson just got back because he was 3 days UA. And so you send Johnson down to get him. And between there and the office, Johnson's done ruined him because he
just got here.
Right. Just got here and you broke him. He's broken. He's destroyed because you're an idiot.
When the new people got there, I don't know how it was for
It was
the Navy.
funny sailor stuff, though.
But it was fun, man. Like, watching the new boots come in. roll up. Oh, like, look at this guy, like what he's all about, judging them immediately. It was fun judging though. It wasn't.
It was fun judging.
It wasn't terrible. Like what is this dude gonna be? What is he gonna be about? Then you end up developing like one of the best friendships you've ever had.
Crazy, right?
I mean, I still talk to most of these dudes, and I honestly wish I would speak to them more.
Yeah, I do too. I keep in contact with like a couple off my first ship, and a couple like from when I was really in it. You know what I mean? But nothing serious. Like,
Who are you closest with? You think like the people from your first
yes,
enlistment?
yeah.
And I think that happens across the
I
board
think
with
so,
everyone.
right? Yeah.
And not necessarily, because I spoke to my staff sergeant and my gunny, right? And these dudes continue to serve long after we got out. Like
Yeah.
our first, the people
Right.
who did only one term.
Right.
And 15, 20 years later, they're like, it's like you guys, this group. I don't know if he was BSing, but no need to, right?
I've had people say that before.
And he was like, it was that group.
Same
He's like,
thing.
you guys really stuck out, and I think about you guys all the time, and it's the most memorable. Although they respect
that's
everybody.
cool. That's cool though.
I feel special about that.
I think our first ship was that way because everyone was so all the same age and all the same rank, and we made everything the same time, and there wasn't many months separating us. So
walk me through, because I have an idea of what I went through boot camp as a Marine, right?
yeah,
So you guys go to boot camp. I think it's 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
At least
Yeah.
it was, right?
It was 9 weeks, I think.
Yeah, 1 week of like that whole
Yeah.
what is it they call it?
I can't
Like
even
the
remember.
in week or whatever it is. You walking around with no camis. You're still in CV clothes.
Yeah,
So you're like worse
Right.
than the scum.
yeah. You don't even have the basics of basic uniform. You like. So so after that first week of being the scum, and they take you to the uniform shop and they outfit you with your uniform, right? And so then it was the bell bottom dungarees, right? Blue jeans, but they were
really jeans.
they were really jeans, and they were the navy jeans, right? So
That's crazy, dude.
like they gave you 2 pair, and you stenciled them and put your name and shit on them, and all the rest of the shit went to laundry.
Stencil.
So those 2 pair you wore before you got them laundered, and they were so janky that you'd be walking around, you just marching and sweating and everything, and you'd get back and take your pants off, and your legs would be blue.
man,
From the dye from the
freaking military is crazy.
It's
bro.
crazy. And so I joined with a friend of mine from high school.
Okay.
And we didn't like tell everybody that we were friends from high school. Like we just, just like, hey, what's up? You know what I mean?
Why, you think it was going to be worse if you did?
No, I just didn't want to like, oh, you two over here. You know what I mean? We weren't next to each other or anything like that.
But they didn't know you guys didn't go in the buddy system?
I think they did know we were in the buddy system, but we weren't like, all like, oh, I want to team up with Kevin Calmer, right?
I want him to be my, my PT buddy.
Yeah, like we didn't do any of that. But what happened was when stupid shit happened in boot camp, we would like give each other that look like, what did we do? Why are we doing this? This is the dumbest thing ever,
Yeah, we messed up.
Such a
I did have those thoughts. Oh, man, I
Such a
really made a
drop.
mistake.
in the bucket in time, though.
What, just your boot camp experience? I've always said, like, I got pepper sprayed or OC sprayed during the non-lethal weapons course that I told you. And I always say, I'd rather go to boot camp again than get sprayed in the face with that thing. Yeah, and boot camp sucked. It was a different experience all of a sudden. Like, you were just, at least for me, I was fresh out of high school. I took 3 months off, graduated in June, went to boot camp in September. Smoked some weed in between there. Like, I was like, oh, I have June, July, and August, Right. So I was like, because I left September early. So I was like, I think I could smoke most of July and part of August and be fine. And, you know, luckily they didn't do no urine test when I first got there because I would have popped probably.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't understand it back then, you know. I always say, dude, you know, back then most of us used cannabis as youngsters.
Yeah.
And we probably didn't look at it as medicine, right? But it still gave us the medicine.
I'm sure we were probably using it for something, and that's why we were drawn to it.
You think so?
I think like it's more, there's a lot more of that happens.
So why did you start? What, because your family members or something?
What, cannabis?
Yeah.
I smoked weed before I joined the Navy.
Sure, but why do you think you started?
To it?
No, why initially, your first time?
I think because of like, I enjoyed being an athlete, and I enjoyed the recovery, and I enjoyed, you know, those kind of things. And cannabis, I think, you know, smoking weed and playing sports is a wonderful thing because you're like inside yourself, right? So
Yeah, for sure.
And, you know, I came from a broken home, so there were things that I was trying to escape, you know, and the friends that I hung out with were like influential in that respect. Like, I hung out with other kids that played sports and smoked weed, but I also hung out with the stoner side of, you know, was never like, everybody knew what was up.
Most of my soccer player friends were all smoked pot.
Yeah.
You know.
My family was a big...
See, that I didn't experience. My family...
Like, I have so many aunts and uncles, and we would go to a barbecue, and they'd all disappear inside in the bedroom and come out, and, you know, it was an obvious thing. You didn't have to search hard, and it started with roach clip. You know,
I think I would have loved that.
Right. Stealing roaches and smoking them with my friends and shit.
Nah, yeah, that's the best bit of the whole joke.
It's a stinging Roger, mate.
Stinging Roger. No, dude, my culture growing up in cannabis was super taboo, so I think it was very drawing to me because of it.
And I think that most people in America think that Hispanics, Colombians, whatever are
we hid?
Yeah.
Shoo, man.
Right.
It's sin over there.
Yeah, right?
Even now.
It's kind of weird that's the stereotype. And
I mean, as time
America
passes and the older generation passes away,
yeah,
and the ones who have been more introduced to it, now it's different. But,
right.
But let me tell you, I mean, I was just in Colombia not too long ago,
yeah.
and it's weird over there, man. Like, the cops don't really mess with you if you're just kind of smoking the joint out in the park.
Yeah.
But it's not technically legal. But they don't really mess with you.
Yeah.
And if they kind of stop you, and if all you have is like a couple joints.
Yeah.
I was told, allegedly.
They take it from you?
No, not even.
Oh.
It's just not enough to like bother with.
Oh.
You know, you're not pushing pounds or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not legal, you know, that's kind of... So, no, yeah, you're right, dude. A lot of people think, especially the Colombian, you know, that stereotype. Oh, you know, Pablo Escobar and the whole thing is, it's like, you know, there's a lot better things to Colombia than just cocaine and weed, you know.
Well, that's what I mean. Is like, you know, the propaganda or whatever of it all. People think that, oh yeah, everybody in Colombia is about weed and cocaine.
No. At least I can't speak for everyone, but at least for me, you know.
And then when you get in the industry and you hear about, like, you know, the Miami stores struggle, like, wow, that just blows me away. But I mean, it correlates, right? Like,
well, exactly, yeah, exactly. You know, some medical dispensaries weren't doing great over there, and they couldn't understand why. And it's just the culture. It's just not really that open to it yet. I think my folks, dude, my two parents were the last people to know that I was, and it wasn't until recently, dude, where I was kind of like, yeah, because my dad would see my shirt, you know, in the back, you know, says cannabis. He'd be like, cannabis, you know, like, he's like, since when do you? And I'd be like, well, it's medicine, Dad. I use it for medicine. And at first he's like, huh. He didn't
Get it?
get it, but he wasn't like, no, you're wrong, or
The
you're
giant's making you do it.
or you're yeah, or nothing like that. He's no, that giant do it too. I'm like, oh yeah, he does it a lot. No, but and my mom knows, and I don't know, dude. I'm a 40-something-year-old grown
My
man.
family all knew. Once I figured it out, like once I figured it out and turned that on, that go switch on, like I'm gonna use cannabis and fix myself. I did not tell anybody. Everybody knew. Like there was no not knowing.
Yeah.
Not that I was like rude or anything, ripping bongs down the street or nothing like that. I didn't do that. But like I even talked to police officers at fairs about weed. Hey, is it, would it be a big deal if you were walking around and you smelled somebody smoking?
You asked them that?
Totally.
That's what
I
they
was
say.
just wide open about.
So what
I
they
got so many different answers.
That's an interesting question to ask a
Right.
police officer. I mean, things are different since that, but man, that's a good question, dude. I'd be interested to know what, even now, right? I don't know. If you guys out there are police officers, let me know. What would you do if you're at a fair and then you
Right.
smell cannabis, right? You smell weed. Maybe see a bunch of kids. I guess it depends who it is for you. I don't know.
Right. I mean, say you're just walking around and it's not obvious who it is that's smoking, but you know that it's coming from somewhere. You're gonna find it. Are you gonna run it down, or are you gonna just let it be?
I think the police are a little bit more nonchalant about it nowadays.
I think so too, and I don't want to say that they're nonchalant because that to me invokes a thought of not really caring or whatever about it. I think that they're a bit more understanding about the cannabis use, and that the people that may be smoking cannabis in the park and shouldn't be smoking cannabis in the park aren't really hurting anybody like a couple of people smoke or drinking, a 6-pack of 40s, right? So like it's come a long way from,
It has.
that understanding of what
I mean, and it is not allowed.
it is not allowed.
in public spaces, and they've even expanded.
Neither
over
is
to-
drinking in public, and people go to the park and drink all the time, and people go places where they're not supposed to and drink. I'm just saying, like
True, but you know what happens most of the time? If somebody's at the park chilling, drinking a beer, the cop would be like, "Yo, throw that out and just go." Right?
well,
I don't know. I mean, it happened to me a couple times
Sure,
when I was younger.
yeah,
Not underage, but
yeah,
younger.
yeah.
Be like, hey, you can't drink here, toss it out. I think I would appreciate the same kind of response if I was in the park smoking a joint.
Yeah, right.
Like, hey,
Hey,
you're not
man.
supposed to be
Yeah,
doing that.
Yeah.
Throw it out, step on it. And I know some people do that, but they happen to me. And
Yeah, I don't try to be disrespectful with it at all. Like, even at our events, like, we have a wide variety of age groups. It's not like we're,
true.
crazy about doing stuff. And we've had police officers at the event for security and stuff like that before, and never had an issue. And matter of fact, they said that they would rather work a cannabis event than they would, event with a beer tent.
I mean, that says a lot, dude.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not shaming anybody who drinks.
No,
Right.
I'm not. I drink still. I mean, I don't like drink to excess.
But
or-
I'd much rather
not
go
like
to.
I did when I was steaming.
I much rather go to a cannabis event than, let's say, like a beer and wine event.
Yeah, I'm much more alert or on point at a
man.
beer or wine event.
It's been a
because
while since I've
you
been to
never
like a
know
beer or
where-
wine event.
Yeah,
Last one I went was all you can drink for like an X amount of price. They
Oof.
give you the little cups like this. So I had like a 4 or 5 at the same time. Yeah, man, it didn't take long before I was drunk in the daytime, which is one
Yeah.
of the things that I hate the most. I can't stand being drunk during the daytime. It's
Yeah.
just something that I don't know, man.
Hear that? Stretched goals.
Dude, so we're back over here at What is it? The thing that we call it over here, Tallahassee. That was that nickname we see everywhere in the smoke
Tallulah?
shops. Tallulah. I don't know if that's what it
I don't
means.
know. Maybe it might be Tallulah. I had a bird named Tallulah.
So we're back in Tallahassee, and I think we were talking about earlier. You're like, oh, we lost Andy in the hallway, but I'm walking through these hallways, dude, and I'm seeing all these awesome photos. And I don't think that you have to be a photographer to appreciate
No.
those things, man. Like I appreciate them as a photographer as well. Like I'm thinking about the photographer. Like look at the dude who took this.
So I think there's different types of photos, like the pictures that capture moments, right? And then pictures like the photographer part of it is capturing the moment, but there are also pictures of the history of the buildings and things like that. And then that's a different type of artist, even photographer wise, I think,
For sure, man. The
And they
picture of
have
the
a great-
buildings that
yes,
are on
they
the
have
hallway.
all kinds of crazy things like that. Like walking around down there really brings you a sense of pride and wonderment in the state's history and stuff like that.
Have you been to the state capital before this event? Here in Florida. And how long you lived in Florida?
Well, off and on since 1986.
If you had to put like,
But the last year, this last period's been 14 years, something like that.
so let's say maybe like total like 16 years you've lived in Florida.
Yeah, 20 something years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, wow. So let's say in more than 2 decades, you never made it to the capital.
No.
Well, don't feel bad, dude. I started living in Florida in 1990.
Wow.
And my first time coming to the capital was with you.
Right.
Last time.
Right.
Was it October, right?
Yeah.
We came in October.
Well,
That is crazy, bro.
I think a lot of times people like out of sight, out of mind. I don't know why I would need to go to the Capitol, right? I mean, even when we were struggling with understanding why 555 didn't pass and all that, right? Even when I didn't expect that I would end up here doing this.
Right.
I was just trying to help, like, people understand what happened and why it happened.
Well, it kind of impact what we do. Yeah. Because there were so many calls, like we were saying, oh, what are you guys going to do now?
Yeah.
Like,
What are you going to do now when the
Well, I
code's
got to
free?
be honest, bro. Before that, when you first explained to me the House and the representatives, and I was like, what? When you passed the House, and I was like, yeah, it passed the House. What does that mean? It didn't make it to the
Everybody
Senate.
was excited. I'm like, yeah, okay, it's only through the House. Relax.
Dude, you had to explain it to me like 10 times.
Because it's hard. It's difficult. I mean,
I think I got a grasp now, but you're right.
Well, 100%. Like, we joke about it, but, that cartoon is for real.
I think if I watch the video again now, I'll be like, I know what you mean. Because, dude, I watched that video, I don't know, it's been years before we watched it on the way here last time, but yeah, I get it, veto, and I kind of got all of that stuff, but, and even now, dude, like today, we sat at that VA.
Yeah, the military.
And sitting in all of this futuristic stuff, it felt good, man, honestly.
No, it did. It was interesting.
At least for me, dude, it gave me a lot of hope for the United States.
I was thinking this kind of the same thing. Like, these dudes are planning for 30-something years from now.
Yeah, man, I like that. And, not to get into like nationalism and all of that, but, I love this country.
No, yeah.
It feels great to see a group of people who are planning for more than just 5 years.
The chair of that committee, you could tell that he was very proud of himself in Florida and
for sure
what Florida did and stood for, and how necessary it is to continue striving and driving.
It kind of felt good to be a Floridian today. Like, I've always loved being a Floridian.
Me too.
But today I was like, oh man, that's right. And all these great companies doing all these things that really sound science fiction, right? Like, It's been science fiction, but like real people and legitimate locations are talking about space, like for real, right? Like dealing with all that stuff that just always sounded just movie stuff, man. And it was kind of cool.
No, I thought it was too. And it really piqued my ears. The guy's like, yeah, I'm starting a company that's gonna shoot
Lasers.
yeah, lasers. And they're like, great, this is a perfect idea. And I'm thinking, what?
Like, oh yeah, what did I think of
When did this happen? Wait a minute.
Dude, you gotta be honest. Like the future is
Then I'm thinking, a football field. It's only a football field. Then he's like, oh, we went to the space shuttle runway that's kilometers long, and we did it. Right? And then they're talking about degradation of power through the atmosphere, and it doesn't happen in space.
I bet that was pretty interesting.
It was.
For you.
I was like, wow, this is really, it really, you don't know all the, I think everybody should kind of do this because it would give you a new appreciation for the things that you vote for and the things that you decide not to put effort into voting for. Right? Because
100%.
it makes totally change your mind about like the whole processes.
I'm kind of living in the never say never thing because I was like, oh, I'll never, get involved in politics.
Right.
And here I am,
Right. But I still don't feel
very much involved.
I still don't feel political.
Indeed. I guess I got to be more specific about saying the political part.
Yeah.
I guess advocating.
Yeah.
Never really done that.
Right. We're advocating for a change in something.
For sure. I guess it's not. I'm not. But it's not like I'm becoming a politician.
But the game is just like in the military, they tell you like, oh, you have to play the politics. You have to to know who. It's not.
I never understood that.
It's not who you know or who you blow. It's how you blow who you know.
I mean,
I'm just saying, you got to play that political game. Like if that guy likes to golf, then you got to like to golf and go listen to him on the golf course because that's where shit's going to happen or whatever. You know what I mean? You got to play that. You're a sailor. Don't snicker at him when he's busted his mass on a.
I had a tough time with that as a youngster. I didn't find the benefit at that low level,
So I think I told you that I had a master chief that told me, you'll go a long way if you know when to say something and when to shut the fuck up. And like that resonated with me.
For sure.
And so I just tried to mind my P's and Q's. I say it all the time that like I feel super fortunate that like I had a really good career and I felt like the people that I met in my naval career were I didn't make enemies or anything like that. And I feel like people like me for whatever reason. And it just seemed like, I don't know, man, like, it was easy for me to go from duty station to duty station. And
you never were like, fuck the Navy? Like, you never had like, man, fuck this. Like, man.
Yeah, I had fucked the Navy a couple times. I did that, but
I don't know. You know.
But when you get to a certain spot, like, when you get to a certain spot and you have certain things and you're on a trajectory, then you're thinking to yourself, do I want to do something to throw all this away? No, right?
Yeah, no, I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel like I never got past that threshold because I just did that one enlistment, right?
Yeah.
Felt somewhat invincible.
Right, yeah.
Like I had immunity, because what the fuck are you going to do?
Right.
Like I'm getting out anyway.
Right.
I didn't have that much to lose per se. Of course I did. I had a shitload to lose.
Yeah.
Thank God that I didn't. There was plenty of times where maybe if things would have went different.
And I felt like I got absconded because I was in the middle of the Mediterranean. He was re-enlist or fly home from Spain.
That's wild,
right?
It ends right now, dude. Like, what do you mean? You can just take me away.
Pack your sea bag, get off the boat.
Take all your shit, get out.
Weird, right?
I mean, you're getting kicked out, practically.
How about stuffing all your stuff in one of them coffin lockers? Did you guys have coffin lockers up there? And I didn't know if they made you have stand-up lockers only, because some of the troop berthing on Iwo Jima were just racks. They didn't have coffin lockers under them. They had...
When you say coffin lockers, you're talking about under your rack?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that.
Yeah.
The baton, I believe, did.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I spent most of my time.
Okay.
And they had it, yeah.
So you know that post that you pull up,
Yeah.
keep it up in the air?
Yeah. You put people, you keep them in there.
Yeah. It's called posting.
And I remember like there was no rack on the very top.
Yeah.
I don't know, at least in the baton there was
So 1, 2, 3. Right?
correct.
Yeah.
So I remember
And you could sit up in that top rack because there was nothing above you, probably. Like,
it was just like empty space,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and at least from what I
piping
remember,
or
dude.
whatever. Yeah.
I remember getting drunk and hiding in there one time.
You know what? I was just thinking about this today. I would love to like take Tara down to like Theodore Roosevelt and go to my exact rack and stand and look at it.
So where's the Theodore Roosevelt now?
I don't know. I think it might be on the West Coast. That'd be
a cool trip, man.
Would be, right? Or Iwo Jima, either of them. But I know I could walk right to my rack.
So they're both museums now?
No, they're both still active duty ships. I'm not that old, dude. I mean,
What the fuck? They get rid of some of these ships?
Iwo Jima was brand new in 2001.
So why how can you take her into it?
What do you mean?
You can take people into the ships?
Yeah, if I went to the ship and said, hey, I'm a plank owner, I want a tour, they would ring me aboard.
For real?
They would be like, bing, 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 plank owner returning.
Really?
For real.
So why haven't you done
It's
it?
a big deal, dude, to be a
That's
plank
pretty
owner.
awesome. What is a plank owner? I've never heard this.
That means you were part of the ship while it was being built before it got smashed, commissioned. This
real?
ship is now commissioned Theodore Roosevelt. I was there a year before it was commissioned.
So because of that, you're allowed to go back and get like a special tour type thing?
So because of that, no, I think anybody can go to a, like if you're a retired veteran and you go on the base and went to a ship and said, hey, I'm looking for a tour. I want to bring my family. I sailed this ship. Somebody would take you on a tour.
For real?
One of the duty, whoever is on duty, one of those guys is responsible for doing something like that.
Sounds surreal.
No, for sure. For sure, I could go back to Theodore Roosevelt and get somebody to take me on a tour, probably from the division that I worked at, and would be able to take me right to.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
I would like to do it to see if it, like everything is relative, right? Right.
100%, yes. At least that's what I believe.
So I don't know how.
Einstein believed it too.
I don't know if it'll feel the same in my mind. Like, wow, I slept in this little bitty rack. You know what I'm saying?
You have a tough time sleeping in the regular racks? Because it's not like there was special racks for big dudes, right?
No, there weren't special racks for big dudes. No. And on the submarine, dude, the rack was so close to me that I couldn't get my arm from here.
You could touch the ceiling of the submarine. I thought it was really big.
Yeah, you can touch it.
For real?
Yeah.
Damn,
It's like,
that's crazy, dude.
dude, I knocked myself out on the ceiling of a submarine.
How much time did you spend in the submarine? Like down there? The longest time?
110 days under the water was the longest time. I did a couple of 90-day deployments, but 110 days straight under the water.
So that's like not seeing the sun, right? You
Yeah,
guys
no,
didn't
you don't see the
surface?
sun. No sunlight.
That's got to do something to you for a little
So it's pretty bizarre. Let's see if you can figure this. It's weird. You know what Greenwich Mean Time is, or world time, right?
bit. Well, I've heard it, yes.
Yeah. So it's in England, goes to zero, right? That's where the zero line is. So on a submarine, when you go under the water, no matter what time it is, like if it's, say we're 6 hours ahead, say it's 6, we go under the water at 6, they move it to midnight to equal Greenwich time. So we run off world time. And
What's the purpose of that?
and because message traffic,
Okay.
and you go to 18-hour days, right? So okay.
Oh, well, you guys got 18-hour days. I got 36-hour days. Okay.
Let's not work more days in a day than you've ever heard of. So there's 6 hours, 18-hour days, right? 6 hours of oncoming.
Okay.
But you have some duties to take care of, like maybe you have to compact trash and shoot it out the side and do your 3M maintenance or whatever. Then you have 6 hours of watch to do your job, whatever, drive the ship or be on the scope duty or whatever. Then you have 6 hours of off-going. And that 6 hours of off-going, you might have a couple duties one day, maybe not one day. So
That's a crazy schedule.
I know, right? So then all of a sudden, in 5 days down the road, you've had 7 watches and, all this time off, and you don't even know what freaking day it is.
That's what I'm saying. You have to lose.
Totally. And they serve meals every 6 hours. The only way you know what time it is they keep serving breakfast.
So you can eat every 6 hours?
Every 6 hours you can eat, yeah. But they serve breakfast during breakfast time.
So that's how you know?
That's the only way you know. That's the only way you know, dude.
So how do they know? Someone is keeping track of real time,
Somebody's keeping track of real time, yeah. But it was I remember, like, so I went to a little mini sub school to get qualified to go on submarines, right? Because there was some shit you had to know safety-wise to be able to do it. And get on the submarine, they're like, okay, cool, everything's how it works, and we go under the water. And I had not been under the water on a submarine before.
Did it feel different?
It didn't feel anything until I went,
oh, you realized,
I can't get out of here.
It's like an epiphany. You're like,
yeah, like,
oh, snap.
I never really thought about it until, like,
you hadn't been out to sea before?
Been out to sea many times, but never on a submarine.
But doesn't it feel the same? You're out in the middle of the ocean. There's no land, nowhere. And you're like, I can't just get out of here and swim back to somewhere.
There's a lot more going on a submarine than on a surface ship. They got lifeboats and shit like that all over. I guess. On a submarine, shit goes bad. Like, you might not be found.
There's no escape pods in submarines?
Oh, yeah.
There is?
Sure.
I mean, every movie has go to the escape pod.
It's called a stanky hood, and it was invented by these Swedish brothers.
So there is.
Yeah, it's called a stanky hood, and
the name doesn't give you a lot of confidence.
It's a hood that you breathe out and in while you're trying to ascend from so many feet.
It's not like a capsule with the motor.
No.
That's what I thought it would be. No. Get in. 2 people, maybe one man capsule.
I just read, remember, did I ever tell you, like, they have a big oxygen scrubber. It takes the CO2 out of the air.
Okay,
and
I've heard about these.
Recirculates the oxygen, right? So it's called the CO2 scrubber. And, like, there's a diesel motor on board that they run from time to time, and it's powered by a reactor. So there's a whole machinery room, and all the gases and all that shit gets recirculated in a submarine, and you breathe it for 110 days.
You think it kind of messes you up somewhere?
I just read something like they just opened new claims for submariners because of this.
Really?
Because of the concentrated poor air quality of metals and the shit that they use to scrub the CO2 out of the oxygen, put something into the air. Yeah, dude. Like, I was like, oh my God.
I feel like a guinea pig sometimes with these people, man.
It's totally guinea pig, dude.
Like, hey, I got an idea.
People, I don't know if they even believe me when I say, like, there I was in my skivvies and my T-shirt with my sleeves pulled up, walking down a line, getting a shot in one arm and a shot in the other arm at the same time.
You said you were in your skivvies?
Maybe my silkies.
Wait, what do you mean by that? Like, demand.
Well,
no, dude, I remember a shot call all the time, dude.
All the time.
Like, hey, Donato, shot call. I was like, dude, I just went.
I've had 7 yellow fever shots. That's probably too many.
You were supposed to only get 2. So, dude, I remember, man, for real.
I remember the very first time that I went out to sea on Theodore Roosevelt after it was like commissioned and we were going out to sea somewhere. had such a buzz, euphoria. It was so exciting to be on the Navy's newest aircraft carrier, you know, and being out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean in the middle of the night on a ship cutting through the water. Like, wow.
No, I totally agree
so
with you, bro.
Fucking cool.
Remember I told you I had that friend that he was the photographer on board the Baton. And he's like, come on, man. Because we met at the smoking lamp, and he's like, dude, I got this other spot, you know? I'm like, for real? Let's go. You know, the smoking lamp came on when it came on.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't matter.
The smoking lamp is lit.
So we would meet around that time. And so, yeah, sometimes I was up in the middle of the Atlantic at 2 in the morning.
So dope.
Like, yeah, I kind of felt, that's why I was feeling, I know it doesn't compare to being under the water, knowing you ain't coming out for like another 90 days, you know, but being out in the ocean for the first time where there's no land in sight, it was a little something. It was like, oh man,
Very humbling.
I'm actually out here doing this.
It's very humbling.
You know,
like I'm just a speck in the world. Like,
yeah, it really made me feel small. I wish I had a different understanding at this time, because I understand that now, even though we're this small, like our, you know, whatever animates us, it's just as big as the universe, right?
yeah.
So being out in that boat, looking at the water, is like, fuck. I don't know. It felt special.
Yeah. Totally felt special to me. I was proud to be in the Navy. I mean, I wasn't ate up. You know, you got some ate up jarheads, right? You know, like the Dominican.
Dude, I remember calling that
all
dude after I
tan.
graduated boot camp. I was like, a staff sergeant. I graduated. He's like, who the fuck is this? It's Donato. I don't know, no, Donato. I mean, I don't know if it went like that, but at least that's
You
what
were
my brain
Czech.
tells me.
In the block.
Yeah, you know, I was, you know, whatever. He was working, you know. It is what it is. You know, and I really thank that dude. I don't know his name. I would recognize him if I saw him. But because of that dude, you know, I ended up going to the Marine Corps. And I did some pretty cool stuff, dude.
So, do your drill instructors, once they become a drill instructor, is that it? They're just a drill instructor? Or do they go from it's drill instructor duty and then they go back and do Marine Corps shit?
Depending if they made their career, yeah.
So you can have a drill instructor career.
You can, and then
Okay.
you can leave that career because you've done pretty much everything.
Go
And,
back, do
yeah.
your MOS again.
Yeah, like
So when I was in the Navy, you know, not knowing anything, I didn't know these guys were like fleet sailors. You know what I mean?
you just thought they were
Right. And then when I got out in the fleet, I'm like,
what do you guys call them?
what?
Your
Company commanders,
your drill instructors,
CCs.
company commanders.
Yeah, company
In
commander.
boot camp, they call
Yeah.
company commanders.
Company commander.
That's wild.
Yeah,
I wonder what the Air Force calls theirs,
I don't know,
because I know the Army calls them drill sergeants.
but they were.
Like if I call a drill instructor a drill sergeant, forget
Oh
it.
my, right.
That's how you fucking die, mate.
That's how you die, mate.
Yeah, they didn't like that.
Not at all. You know, mine were both MM1s,
What is an MM1?
machinist mate. They were both mechanics, and they're teaching us,
Really?
yes, naval history and boot camp. And I didn't realize until I got to a ship, and I'm like, oh, really? I got trained by Tweedledee and Tweedledum of the. No, I'm just saying.
Right. No, for sure. I guess you can become whatever. You can
Right.
become.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I know one of my sergeants, you know, he was.
But honestly, I found that very cool about the Navy in particular, that you were able to do a bunch of different jobs. Like, you could qualify in different things.
Yeah, like even though you're MOS, you can have multiple MOSs, right? You went in as whatever, but then you can pick up your second MOS as a drill instructor, right?
Right.
Or whatever. Yeah, it is cool.
I was a quad 0, a 7412, and a 9595 were my
What are those numbers? You just throwing random numbers at.
Right. No, 7412 was analyst.
That's your MOS number.
Yeah. 7412 is analyst, forecaster, oceanography, and meteorology.
So you went in knowing you stayed in your same MOS the whole time?
Yes. Yeah. I went in, had a signed contract.
What is it?
He's going to bed.
He's like, I'm tired of you guys.
I had a signed contract to go to AGA school.
AGA school. Explain.
AG.
What is that?
Aerographer's mate. Weather. The A school is your class school.
So you're technically like a weatherman.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, right?
Right.
I mean, it's a lot to it.
Lots. Yeah.
I know we're laughing because we have, a lot of jokes about messing with each other around the whole weather stuff.
I like to think of it more as applied science, applied meteorology, applied oceanography, that kind of thing, instead of being a weatherman.
You think it's different?
I think so, because, I mean, you're thinking about things in a different way. Like, I can think of it, I mean, just say you're a TV personality or whatever, and you brief the 10-day forecast on Monday, and then come Tuesday night, the 10-day forecast is only one day longer than what it was the day before, right?
It's definitely different.
So, but when you're applying meteorology, you're taking the atmosphere or ocean, whatever, and applying it to the warfighter for radar ranges or whatever, like what we had talked about before. So it's completely different and that's why it always gives me,
you do a giggle.
Everybody does this. Well, this is what you do as a weatherman. Okay, yeah,
I mean,
that's
an
it.
accurate
You got
way
it.
of measuring.
It's one way.
Was that really
It's
a
not
thing?
the way.
I hope that was never a thing.
No, I'm sure people.
What about like throwing the grass?
Oh yeah, throw the grass. That'll tell you everything. But no, they do give you like thumb rules, like how they describe the different speeds or way the flag looks.
Oh, indeed.
Right?
For sure.
If the flag is rippling or
so I learned that in boot camp,
standing straight out or whatever, you can estimate the wind speed by that. Yeah.
Yeah, I found that very interesting during boot camp. When it came down to the shots, from the 500. There's some weird lights back there.
Huh.
Thought it was like a... So yeah, shooting from 500 yards.
Uh-huh.
They taught us about that.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. I enjoyed it.
I think one of the most enjoying times that I had in the military was when I was my first shore duty assignment, and maybe I was too much or shore duty wasn't enough. But either way, I got assigned for some extra duty, outside of my normal stuff, to the Marine cadre during the Gulf War. The Marine cadre is like, there's maybe 5 Marines, and they get TAD or TDY sailors to come to the cadre to supplement their staffing. So
really?
Right.
Okay,
So
yeah.
So here I was with the Marine security team on the base, right?
Hey, those guys were pretty badass.
They were pretty
team.
badass, man, and it was fun, and they took care of me, and I would have never have had that opportunity had I not been a fleet sailor and I'm a fleet sailor.
I did have aspirations
to
join the security team.
Did you?
I missed it because I was
swear
in
I got all my
deployment.
weapons qualifications.
Yeah,
and
those
all
guys
that.
were pretty cool, man. I just missed the opportunity.
I mean, little did I know that doing those kind of quals at a shore duty site would set me up for something later on down the road.
For sure. I mean, that's pretty
Well, you're
elite
already
stuff.
weapons qualled. So,
No, dude, you definitely had a pretty interesting career. Man. I believe it was not very common. There's not many of you guys, right?
no, I mean, I think everybody stays for their own reasons, but no, I was afforded opportunities to do things, and I mean, I saw a lot of the world and stuff, so I got to put that in my pocket too, like riding a camel around the pyramids of Egypt and sitting on the
Yeah, that's
wall in
pretty
front of
dope.
the Sphinx, and you know,
Yeah,
just like
definitely do stuff
all
that.
old world Europe and all around South America, and like I get to put all that stuff in my pocket. And like we talked about before, the same reason that women have multiple children, it's like you don't always remember all the bad stuff, right? Like I
Mm.
remember, I mean, you talk about your boys, right? I remember the fun stuff that we
Yeah,
did, and
yeah, there was a lot of fun times, a lot of crazy
a
stories.
lot of crazy stories.
Yeah, but there were a lot of shit stories too.
There are a lot of shit stories too, but I don't tend to tell the shit stories. And maybe like what we had talked about earlier was, sometimes like, Vietnam veteran might not talk about that story because it invokes bad memories for not only them, but for other people too, right? Like it could have been a bad place. It's all relative, bro. Like honestly, if I hadn't had such a good leadership team on my first ship and talk to me about when we make your 6 month deployment, you're gone for 6 months. You might as well just start looking forward to that time instead of how long it's going to be. I did 1 day, I did 2 days. You know what I'm saying? Change your perspective and get qualified while we're out here. Do this.
Yeah, do
Spend your
whatever you
time.
can.
Spend your time wisely, and you can do a lot of things
I was
for
very
yourself.
proud. I came back with a lot of money saved my first time
Yeah.
around. The most money
Yeah.
I ever had in my bank.
Right.
So that was kind of cool, right? I
Right.
was like, because back in the rear, I was drinking all my money away.
Yeah. Right.
So my first deployment
How long was your deployment?
well, this one was the training for 6 months. We went to Oki, right? And there wasn't much to do in Oki, and there's only so many Mickeys you can drink.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I did get in trouble for underage drinking in the military twice. I was
got,
getting close
I
to
got once.
kicked out. They're like, "Hey, one more, and you're out of
One
here,
more,
bro."
you're gone.
And you don't really think you have a problem, but shoot, man, most of us really like drink a lot more than we probably should. Yeah, we can definitely handle it. We're young.
I think that that's probably more cultural too than like even cannabis. Like you get into the military and I can join the military, but I can't drink, and somebody's gonna go, oh, I can help you drink. You know what I mean? It's not hard to drink underage in the military.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I mean? So
dude. No. Yeah, I did it a lot.
yeah.
I think most of us did.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like I didn't break rules or whatever or anything like that. I tried to maintain a certain level of military bearing or whatever. When I left the Navy, if you were in a leadership position, no matter if you were an E5 and had people that worked below you, whatever, if you were in some sort of leadership position and you smoked cigarettes, that you would not be marked as a 5-0 sailor on your military bearing.
Yeah, because they look bad, right?
They look bad. Yeah, you're teaching your junior troops that it's okay to smoke cigarettes. I just never thought that I would see something like that. For when I first got in the Navy, you could smoke in the berthings. You could smoke in the...
Really?
Yeah.
Shit.
On that brand new ship, dude.
Yeah, I didn't smoke in the berthing. It was not allowed.
Not allowed.
I think I smoked down in the Humvees a couple times.
Maybe. You could probably get away with it if you were down there by yourself.
Yeah, there was a couple of us down there
You had to
smoking.
be at the fantail or on one of the wings of the ship.
This was in the baton.
Yeah, so where did they smoke on the baton? On the fantail?
Well, in the in the fantail.
Yeah.
But I was more the T, so
You down in the hole.
we couldn't. Oh, I gotta go down. Do PMs on the Humvee. Yeah. So a lot of freaking dudes would just knock out on the,
Well, when it's full, there's
Yeah,
a
it's
lot
full.
of places to
True.
be gone.
The whole thing
down
in the
there.
bottom was full with trucks, man.
Yeah. It's pretty weird, right?
It was funny, dude.
Did you ever ride on an LCAC?
I did.
It's a pretty interesting ride, too.
It was, man. I did a lot of cool stuff, dude.
I did. Out of Little Creek. Did you run them out of Little Creek, or was it off the baton? Or
Off the baton into Viegas.
Oh, okay. They put you ashore on one.
Mm-hmm. and we got off the Humvees on it.
I mean, I went ashore on one too, but
it was
only
weird,
the Little
bro.
Creek.
It was such a surreal because we went in there not knowing all of that, right? And here we are getting off the baton into that,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
Then he brought us right up to shore, and then they dropped
Drop
the thing.
the gate and you
And I
drive
was like,
off.
I've
Wait
seen
a
this
minute.
shit in movies,
Right.
you know, like last time I saw this,
move,
exactly, it was like World War II, and I pew pew. I was like, we're getting off in Puerto Rico, you know, like this shit's weird, dude. So we get off, and I don't want to sound stupid or whatever, but it felt like
We're trying to get closer to the Dominican.
yeah, I was like, oh, Puerto Rico, close to the Dominican, we're close. It looked the same. Honestly, bro, like getting off to there, I was like, it felt like if we were rushing Puerto Rico, you know? But at that time, we were just getting off. But like it's like, we're bringing Humvees over here. It just didn't make any sense, bro. Like, at least to me. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, Puerto Rico was cool, man. It was pretty.
I like Puerto Rico.
Roosevelt Roads was one of my funnest times during active duty, man.
Yeah. I drank a lot of the bat while I was there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Bacardi.
Yeah, I'll never touch Bacardi Limon again in my life.
I did one of those Tootsie Rolls down the hill. You know, when you lay down and
Oh, yeah.
in front of the barracks there at Roosevelt Roads, all fucked up on the bat. We were racing. That was just a puke fest.
Oh, man. You know what it is to be young and dumb.
Yeah. But they did have some El Pollo Loco. That chicken on Roosevelt Roads, that base that had that one little fast food chicken place. Oh my God.
Hey, you talking about chicken, dude. Big shout out to
Fire, dude.
Hip Hop
Fish and chicken.
Fish and Chicken here in Tallahassee. So good, man.
So good to had to do it twice today.
Yeah, we ate twice today. So, if you guys are hanging out in Tallahassee, come get yourself some
Fish and chicken.
Hip Hop Fish and Chicken, man. Everything was banging.
It was good.
The coleslaw, I was thinking earlier, I was like, if the coleslaw is good, it's a good indication that the rest of the food is good.
The Hush Puppies were fire.
It was good food, dude. It was really cool. I like Tallahassee, man.
I did too.
It's way different than Cape Coral for sure, and definitely different than Miami.
It's younger here and older here at the same time. Does that make any sense? Like the town is older, the buildings are older, there's more history here.
More hills.
More hills, but like the overall age of the people is younger.
You know what I do appreciate? There's a lot of more mom and pop stuff than at least in Cape Coral is.
Yeah.
Nothing against the big companies, but there's a lot more here, people living off being entrepreneurs than big corporations coming and doing it.
Leave it.
All right, my friend. We're going to call this one good night.
What are you all huffing and puffing about? Sucking on your toes?
Gus is over there like, hey, man, leave me alone.
I just need sleep, Dad. It was a rough day.
He's had a rough day, huh?
Yeah, he was sick. So, look at him.
But he's a good boy, man. I'm very glad that Gus is here with us, dude, spending this time.
I think a lot of people get a lot of things out of him. He's a cool dog to have around, for sure.
You think he like takes on some energies and stuff and gets heavy for him?
I think so.
Yeah, because he definitely gets a lot of attention. Today, when we were walking towards, like right before we left, and everybody was coming the opposite way, they were all looking at him. I was like, man, this dude, right? He's got like an energy haver, just give me all, give me.
Tomorrow, up for butter. I'll be able to do it.
Tomorrow's a big day. I'm excited for tomorrow.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, we'll have a few.
We're going to go see Senator Valdez. I mean, not Senator, but Representative Valdez, right?
Yep.
So that's going to be cool.
Yep. Press flesh with a couple of other veterans in there, like Greco, and want to go by and see that representative that has to deal with the Military Heritage Museum in Punta Gorda.
Yeah,
It's right there next to Representative Greco's office. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. This is a cool journey, Jeff, man.
No, I think so. And you know, even if it's only another rung on the ladder to success, I'm proud to have been able to say that we did this. And I mean, even if we don't push it over the finish line, which I think that this will make it. But if we don't, I mean, I'm proud to have done it, and it makes me feel smarter and makes me feel like, I tried. Like, I don't know what else I can do, right? Like,
I mean, this is pretty active, dude. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Like just sitting in this things today and just going to this.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, what else can you do? You can help other ways for sure. Speaking to your representative and all of that, right?
Yeah, you call your senator, call your representative.
You know how many times I've heard that, and I just kind of brushed it off.
Me too. And now I know why. Because somebody did some work and they need some help getting it across the finish line. And it takes
for sure.
everybody to do it. It's not just an idea and like.
I thought it was such BS.
Right.
Like nobody's gonna listen to that.
I think they do though. Like
I know now they do.
Yeah.
They responded to us plenty. They made room
Right.
and scheduled meetings.
Right.
I thought that was
I know.
so out of reach, bro.
I did too. And I thought, well, I guess it's not going to happen.
I really felt like it was a brush off. When somebody told me, call your senator, right?
Yeah.
Or call your representative.
Right.
First of all, isn't it the same person?
Yeah, right.
You want me to call him twice? I didn't understand none of that.
No,
dude.
100%, dude. Yeah.
It's kind of
And for just for that, people should do this. But I mean, we didn't even ask or really try. We were afforded an opportunity to be involved in the change, right? It wasn't like we just came up with some idea of it. It wasn't really like we were looking to do it. It just was the right thing at the right time.
The way I really like to look at it is like this, right? At the moment, we are what feels maybe like the forefront of what's going on, right?
Sure.
And then you have everybody before us who's done all the work. And then each one of these groups suffers from what we think the other group is going through or feeling.
Sure.
What I mean, right, is like you and I were like, well, we don't want to take away anything from the people who did.
Right.
And the people who did, but like, well, you guys are the ones kind of doing it now, and we root for you, right? There's this one group that thinks and feels that way. But then there's the opposite who, they're like, well, you guys don't appreciate none of the work we've done.
Yeah, can't we still call it 555?
Right. Like the people who did all the work are not even mentioned anymore. And then you have other people who are doing it, right? Who could be like, well, I'm the one doing all the work now. You guys are just kind of sitting back there about something you did 10 years ago.
Like even farther than that, you could, on another level, like we talked, we're here doing it now, and I don't really care if anybody knows my name.
Well, true.
Or want that in the end. I don't
It's never about that.
Right? So I think perspective is important to think about then.
In the way down the road, I mean, think about all those people, right? That one photo in the hallway where there's all those people just sitting. It was like a meeting, right? Super important because there was a lot of people in there.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
This is a very old photograph. Dude, that was like the pinnacle of importance.
Right. At that moment.
At
right
that
then.
moment.
Yeah.
And all those people are in there, some serious stuff.
Right.
And then to you and I, it's just like, oh, look how cool. What a cool photograph. Right.
Right.
It's, but to them, that was fucking everything, dude. Like,
yeah. Kind of like this is really important to us, right?
It is right now. It means a lot to us.
Yeah.
It means a lot. And everything that goes in that building, it means a lot to some people.
Yeah.
And at least for me, though, honestly, you're right. I think everybody should come out here and do this at least once.
Well, it gave me a great new appreciation for all the pieces and parts that go into it, like the lobbyists, the aides. Man, the maids work their asses off.
Dude, I had the word lobbyist gave me icks because I
Yeah.
didn't understand it.
Right, right. Some of them are still ick, but
Well, true, but
there's good work that gets done by lobbyists.
true. I mean, obviously, there's
Yeah,
duality to everything, right? There are some dirty motherfuckers out
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Right? And then there are other people who are really trying, at least in their eyes, do some good. And then,
Even me.
good night, sweet everybody.
It's time to go.
Yeah.